Hey guys, welcome back to the channel again. This is the second part for our tutorials about installing BSPWM on Arch Linux. In this video we are going to install the Polybar on BSPWM and also configure some other options. This is by no means a full customization of the window manager, it's meant to give you the basics so that you can start customizing it the way you want to. So let's get going. So we are continuing here from where we left off last time, and in this video we are going to look at three things. We are going to look at the configuration files for BSPWM, we are going to install a bar, in my case Polybar, and in the end we are going to install also a nice lock screen. So let's go ahead and have a look at the configuration files for BSPWM. And as we have seen in the previous video, we have two of those, one for the window manager and one for our key bindings. So let's begin with the window manager. So let's type in vim.config/bspwm and then bspwm-rc and hit enter. So this configuration file is fairly simple, and so let's begin from the top. This command is going to execute the configuration file for our key bindings, which make perfectly sense to have it here since we wanted to start with the window manager. The second line here is going to define how we want to use our monitors. Now, in this case, because this is just for one monitor, I'm going to have 10 desktops on one monitor here. But you can enable multiple monitors here by using multiple lines and assigning different desktops. So I don't have actually another monitor here, so I cannot really show you that. But I can actually show you how you can enter another line if you have another monitor. So first of all, you can find out the name of your monitor here. If you open up a new terminal and we type in xrender, you can see here I have only one monitor and it's called virtual1. If you have multiple monitors, you will see many different names. And these are the ones you'll need to remember. So let's close this window up. So I'm going to insert one line here, and let's say I have another monitor. So I want to insert another monitor and I want to have some desktop displayed on that monitor. So to do this, I can type in bspc and then monitor and then the name of the monitor. Let's say, for example, my second monitor was named dp/1 and then -d for desktops. And now I can select which desktops I want in this monitor to appear. So let's say I want to have, for example, the desktop number 7 and also desktop number 8. And I would go up and remove these two desktops from the previous monitor, but I'm not going to do this, it's just an example. Then we could save the file and exit Vim and reload the window manager. And those two workspaces will be on your second monitor. And if you have multiple monitors, you can configure this the same way by adding more lines. So let me delete this line because I don't have another monitor. There you go. Now here we can configure the border width, which is actually the one we see around the window. And 2 is fine for me, but if you don't like it, you can change it, of course, accordingly. And the same goes for the window gap, which is the gap between these two windows here. Now 12 for me is fine because I like to have a little bit space between the windows. If you don't like this and you want to have more or less, you can change this value accordingly. Same goes for the split ratio, and we have also the two options here for a gapless and borderless monocle layout. So the monocle layout is basically a layout which allows you to focus on one window only. So for example, let's say we move this terminal here on the workspace number 2, and let's go there, and let's type in Super M to go to monocle mode, and you can see it takes up the full screen here and you're not disturbed by any other window. To go back to tiling mode here, again you hit mode M and you're back in tiling mode. So let's close this window up and go back to the first desktop. We have also some configurations here for some applications already there. So we have, for example, a rule saying that GIMP should be opened in the desktop number 8. It's floating and it has to be followed. Well, I don't have GIMP installed now in my system, so I cannot show you this, but I do have Chromium, which is going to be open on the desktop number 2. So let's open up Chromium and hit enter. And it opens up directly in desktop number 2. If you go back to the first desktop, we have our terminal, and in the second desktop, we have our Chromium browser. So let me close this up and go back. And we could define rules like this for other applications. And let's say we want to do the same for Spotify. So we want to create a rule basically. The first thing we need to do is to find the class name of the Spotify app. So let me open up Spotify and another terminal as well. And I'll type in here xprop and hit enter. You can see the cursor here becomes a cross. So we can click on Spotify. And we get here lots of information. So what we are looking for here is the WM class string, which is in this case Spotify with a capital S. So we need to use this as a class name when we define a rule for our desktops. So let me close this window and close also Spotify. Now, there is a word of caution. Spotify is not always window manager friendly. In some cases, it's not working when you are assigning a rule to it. And to correct this behavior, we can actually install an extra package if you have Spotify installed, which will correct this behavior. The package is called spotifiywm, and it makes Spotify more window manager friendly by setting the class name before opening the window. So let me install this very quickly. I open up a new terminal and type in yay -s and then spotifiywm-git and hit enter. Difference is to show none and hit enter. And it's going to take a moment here to install. Now we can enter our sudo password and the package is installed. So we can close this window and proceed now by defining our rule. So I want to do it here after the Chromium. So I'll open up a new line here and I'll type in BSPC, then rule -a. Now the class name we saw before is Spotify, and then desktop equal single quote caret sign to define the desktop. Let's say I want to put it on the desktop number 3, and then we close the single quote to close the function. And then we can save the file and exit Vim, reload our window manager with mod alt R, and then try to open Spotify and hit enter. And we don't have it here, so let's go to workspace number 3 by hitting mod 3, and here we have Spotify working on desktop number 3. So we can close this up and go back to the first desktop, open up again the configuration file. And so it's fairly simple to configure applications like this. There are also other options that we can define, for example, for full screen equal on. I will leave a link to these in the video description below. So let's exit out of this file and open up the other configuration file, our key bindings. So let's type in vim.config/sxhkd and then sxhkdrc and hit enter. And here we see the key bindings for our window manager. We defined already the terminal in the last video. We have super space for D menu, and these are all self-explanatory. We have also key bindings for quick restart, what I just did with super alt Q for quit and super alt R for restart, and so on. These key bindings are fairly simple. You can scroll through them and they are fairly easy to understand as well. Here we have also the key bindings for resizing windows. So if I open up a new terminal and I hit super alt and H, I'm going to increase the size of the right terminal. And if I hit mod alt shift L, I'm going to make it smaller. Now to change between windows, we can hit mod C fairly simply. And to switch places of the windows, we can hit mod shift and L and H. So these are very simple key bindings and they are fairly easy to understand. So let's close this window and close out of this file. We're going to add more key bindings here in a moment. Now that we looked at the key bindings and the configuration files, we can add finally a bar that will help us to work more efficiently. As I said before, we are going to install Polybar. So to do this, we're going to use yay because it's in the Arch user repository. So I will type in yay-s. Well, the first package I want to install is Polybar. I'm going to install also pacman-contrib because I know it's going to be used by one of the modules that I want to use in Polybar. I want to install also some fonts that I know I will need in Polybar. So one is ttf-font-awesome and the other one is siji-git. And I want to install also some audio packages because I'm going to need them for the Pulse Audio module. So the first one is Pulse Audio and also alsa-utils. And then we can hit enter. Enter the sudo password and accept the installation for the packages. And for Polybar, we're going to accept the first repository here, and I don't want to remove the dependencies, so I'll just hit enter. Difference is to show none, and proceed with the installation. Now, the installation of Polybar is going to take a moment, so I'll be back when it's done. So the packages are now installed, so we can clean up the terminal. Now, the first thing we need to do is to create our Polybar directory in our home directory.config directory. So to do this, we can type in mkdir.config/polybar and hit enter. Now, Polybar needs a configuration file and also a shell script to launch. So the configuration file, I have it already. It's on my website, and I will leave a link to it in the video description below, of course. So let me go to my website. Let's pull up Chromium. And I'll search for my config file. Which is right here. So I'm just going to click the link. And I'm going to select the whole text here. I'm I'm gonna copy it, go back to the terminal and create the config file by typing in vim.config/polybar/config and hit enter. I'm gonna paste the content in. There you go. And I'm gonna change just a few things because the last time I used the configuration file was for i3. So I might need to remove some modules here. And let me go on the top of the file. So here we have the modules. In this case, I want to remove actually Spotify because I don't have the script right now installed. So I'll just leave here the file system. Pulse audio is fine. Memory and X keyboard is fine. CPU is fine. Wi-Fi, I'll take it off because I don't have any. And so also for the battery and the temperature because they are not supported in the VM. And I'm going to scroll down here until I find the BSPWM module, which is right here. And what I want to do here, I want to actually uncomment the separator because I want to have separators between my desktops. And then we can save the file and exit Vim. Now we need the launch script. So I'll go back to Chromium and I'll type in here Polybar. And I'll go to the wiki and I'll copy the launch script here, to which I will leave, of course, a link in the video description again. Go back to the terminal and type in here vim.config/polybar/launch.sh and hit enter. Gonna paste the content in. And I'm going to remove here the second bar because I have only one. And the name of the bar I have in my system here is not bar 1, it's bar example. Then we can save the file and exit Vim. Now we need to change the permissions of this script so that it's executable. So to do this, we can type in chmod +x and then .config/polybar/launch.sh and hit enter. And now we need to put the script also in our window manager configuration file. So to do this, we can type in vim.config/bspwm and bspwm-rc. And I'm going to insert this after the key bindings. So I'm going to enter here the $sign and the home variable to indicate to the system that this script is in my home directory /config/polybar/launch.sh. I'm going to make a space under that. And then we can save the file and exit Vim. Now we can reload our window manager with mod alt R. And we have here our Polybar up and running. Although the pulse audio is not functioning because we need to restart the machine. But let's go shortly to the workspace number 2. And you can see here the window overlaps actually the bar. That's not an issue. We just need to close the browser one time. And when we'll open it again, it's going to be displayed fine. So let's close this window. Now to have the pulse audio module working for us, we need to restart once the machine. So let's type in reboot and hit enter. It's going to take a moment to reboot. So I'll type in my username and the password and then start X and hit enter. And now pulse audio is displaying correctly here. The thing is the volume buttons are not working because we need to configure them. So let's do that so that we have a fully functional Polybar. So let's open up the terminal and type in again vim.config/sxhkd and sxhkdrc and hit enter. I'll move down here to the end of the file and I'm going to insert here the commands for the volume buttons and also for the display brightness if you need that. I don't need it because I'm on a VM, but if you are on a laptop, you might find them useful. So I'll type in here an hashtag for the comment and then volume control. And I'm going to type in the commands now and I'm going to skip this. Of course, I will leave the link to this file also in the video description below so that you don't have to type everything by hand. But I'm just going to skip this and I'm going to be back with you in a second when I finish to type in the commands. So here they are. These are the commands. And now we can save the file and exit Vim. Restart our window manager with mod alt R. And now if we hit the volume buttons, the volume is changing correctly. So this is done. Our Polybar is fully functional. Here we have also our boot menu where we can restart and power off the machine. So the next step would be to install a lock screen. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use another lock screen, which is called the betterlockscreen. So this is available in the AUR, and to install it, we can use the yay command. So let's type in yay-s and then betterlockscreen and hit enter. Now, as you can see, we have some dependencies here. One is i3log-color, and we'll need to install some others afterwards. But for now, we can just hit none here and proceed with the installation. It's going to take a moment here to download and install. There you go. So let's clean up the terminal. The other dependencies we need to check, they might already be installed, but just to make sure, let's type in ye-s. The one is xdpy-info and xrender. I know this one is installed, and then we have bc and also fe. This is also a requirement for this lock screen. Fe is a replacement for nitrogen, but I have already nitrogen in the system, but nevertheless, I'm going to install fe anyway, and I might replace nitrogen later. Then we can just hit enter. And I can see the only package which was already installed is BC, so the other ones needs to be installed. So we can hit enter here. And this is now done. So we can clean up the terminal. Now, to configure this lock screen, we need to choose some pictures. And so let me switch to the second desktop here and open up Chromium. And I'm going to search again for Japan 4K wallpapers and go to images, and I'll pick one up. For example, this one here. And let me select my resolution, which is right here. And right click on the photo and save image. I'm going to call it Japan 2 and hit enter. And close Chromium and go back to the first workspace. Now, before we can use the lock screen, we need to actually cache the images so that the lock screen can display them properly. To do this, we have several options, and of course, I will leave a link to those in the video description below. But as an example, I want to use my Japan 2 picture here with a blur effect. So I will type in better lock screen and then -u, and then specify the directory of the picture, which is pictures, and then japan2.jpg. And with the -b option for blur, I'm going to set here a 1.0 blur and hit enter. It's going to take a second here to generate the cache. There you go. So if I type in now in the terminal better lock screen -l for lock, and the effect I want to use is a dim blur. So we are dimming the photo and blur it. This is how it's going to look like. Then I can enter my password, and I'm back in the terminal. Now I want to have a key binding for the lock screen, so I need to edit the key bindings file. So let's type in vim.config/sxhkd and then sxhkdrc and hit enter. Move down to the end of the file, and I will enter here a comment, which is going to be lock screen. And the key combination is going to be super plus X in my case. And the command to execute is better lock screen -l and then dim blur. Then we can save the file and exit Vim. And we can reload BSPWM with mod alt R. And now if I hit mod X, I have my photo there with the blur. So let's enter the password. And we are back in the terminal. Let's clean it up. Now, to give a final touch to my installation, I want to show you also how you can change the desktop numbers on Polybar. So let's type in vim.config/polybar/config and hit enter. We are already here in the BSPWM module. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to use the same methods I use for i3. So I'm going to copy, for example, this line here, and I'm going to paste it at the end of the BSPWM module. Now, what I need to change, because this is BSPWM and not i3, is the number of the desktop, which is this one right here. So in i3, it will be represented by desktop number 1. But as we've seen in the configuration file for BSPWM, the number of the desktop, it's in Roman numerals. So it's not 1, but it's 1 as a capital I. Then I can delete the 1 here. Next, we need to tell the module to display the icon also on the display. So let me scroll up here. And we have here the label focused, which is basically meaning the desktop you are using right now. Right now it's showing the index, which is the 1 number you see on the top. If you want to see also the icon in here, well, we can say we can replace, for example, index with icon. Then we can save the file and exit Vim and reload BSPWM. And as you can see, now we have our icon on top. Now the problem is because we don't have any other icon on the other desktops. If I move to desktop number 2, you will see it's empty and the desktop number 1 goes back to the number 1. That's because we didn't change the option. So let's go back to the first workspace and open up again the same configuration file. So if we want to keep seeing the icon when we are switching desktop, we have to go down here to label empty, and we need to change this to icon. Now we need to also change the label occupied because we have already a terminal in this workspace. So I'm going to go up here and change this to icon as well. Then save the file and reload BSPWM. And as you can see, because we don't have any other icon in the other workspaces, it's completely empty. But if we move to workspace number 2, the icon in the first workspace is of course present because we have a terminal in there and that represents the label occupied. Now, as you can probably figure out yourself, you need to put icons in all other workspaces if you want the icons to appear there. So let me scroll down here, for example, to the i3 module, and I'm going to copy also this line, and I'm going to paste it here underneath, and I'll remove this one. And again, I need to replace the workspace here with a 2 Roman numeral, and I'll create a space under here. Now, this is a Firefox icon. I don't have Firefox here, so I could actually search for a Chrome icon. But first, let me save the file and reload the window manager. And as you can see now, also the Firefox icon appears there. But let's change that. Let's go to Chromium and search for font-awesome and hit enter. I'll click the first link here. And I want to go to the cheat sheet. So let me type in here, cheat sheet, and hit enter. And I'll go to brands and I'm looking for Chrome. There you go. So I can right click this and click copy, go back to the first desktop, and I'm going to paste it in. Now we can save the file, reload the window manager, and now we have Chromium in there. So let's go ahead and do the same here for Spotify. I'm going to copy this, paste it in, and replace again the numeral here. There you go. And then save the file and reload. And there you go. So you get the idea how it works. Now, if you don't need 10 desktops, so for example, let's say I need only 3, what we can do here, I can quit this file, go to the BSPWM-RC file, so by typing in vim.config/BSPWM and BSPWM-RC, and I can say, for example, I just need 3 desktops. So I can go here on the end of the line, and I can delete this, and now I can save the file and reload. And now I have my 3 desktops there with my 3 icons. This is of course just an example. You can have as many desktops as you want, and of course you can have as many icons as you want. So this is just to show you how it works. Of course, if you decide to have more desktops, go ahead and do the same things also with the other desktops by creating the command for the new icons. Now the next touch I want to give to my installation, I want to change actually the wallpaper. So for a change here, I want to look for another kind of wallpaper. So I'll type in space dark wallpaper 4K. Hit enter. I'll go to images and I'll scroll down here until I find, let's say, for example, this one here. And I'm going to select the photo and click download. And then watch the full resolution. Right click here and save image. I'm going to call it space. There you go. And click save. Now I can close Chromium and I'll go back to the first terminal. Open up Nitrogen here. And I'm going to select this wallpaper, zoom fill is fine, and click apply. And close Nitrogen. I'm going to exit this file, clean up the terminal. And as you can see here now, what I really don't like is to have this border around the window. It looked fine with the Japan wallpaper, but with this one, it doesn't look really good. So let me go back in my configuration file here. And I will change the border width here to 0. Then save the file and exit Vim and reload. And this one looks much better to me. Now, 2 last things I want to do before we wrap up this video is to install neofetch and the powerline. So let's type in sudo pacman-s and then neofetch and powerline and hit enter. Enter the sudo password and proceed with the installation. Now, to use neofetch, I need to edit my bashrc file. So let me clean up the terminal and type in vim.bashrc and hit enter. And I'll enter here a new line and I'll type in here neofetch. For the power line, I need actually to enter a script here, which I can find on the Arch wiki. So let me go back to Chromium. And I'll type in here powerline Arch and hit enter. Select the first link here. And this is the script we need to copy. So let's just copy it in. Go back to the terminal, enter the new line here and paste the content. And now we can save the file and exit Vim. Let's close the terminal and open up a new one. And now we have neofetch and powerline working. So let me center this window And this is going to do it for the BSPWM Window Manager. All in all, I'm really happy with this window manager. It's extremely simple to configure and it's very fast, and I will keep using it now for a while and see how it performs over time. And as I said before, I will leave the link to all of these things I used in this tutorial in the video description below. So this is gonna do it for BSPWM. We installed here Polybar and customized some options. As I said before in the intro, this is by no means a full customization video of BSPWM. It's meant to give you the basics so that you can start customizing it the way you want to. So far, I really like BSPWM. It's really fast and it's very easy to configure, and I will try it on still for a couple of weeks and see how it performs over time. I hope you liked the video, guys. If you did, please hit the like button below and subs to the channel if you haven't already. Subs always helps us out. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by visiting our Patreon website, or you can donate via PayPal to our website as well. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.